आओ मदीने चले आओ मदीने चले इसी महीने चले आओ औज़ुबिल्लाहि मिनश्शैतानिर्रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला सय्यिदिना मुहम्मद व अला आलि सय्यिदिना मुहम्मद व बारिक व सल्लिम व सल्li alayhi. A very warm welcome to all our listeners joining us on Radio Dawn. So you are listening to Raabita with Nasrullah. So where we discuss the issues that matter to our community, speak directly with public representative, and try to understand the challenges and opportunities shaping our society. और दिन रात प्रोग्राम राब्ता आप हफ्ते के रोज सुनते हैं और रेडियो डॉन जो है वो हफ्ते के 7 दिन और दिन के 24 घंटे ये नशियात जो है वो सुनी जाती हैं 107.6 FM पे आप बराह रास्त हमें देख सकते हैं, सुन सकते हैं और radiodon.com के ऊपर हमारी जो नशियात है, इसके अलावा एक यूट्यूब का हमने भी चैनल शुरू किया, वहाँ पे भी हमारी ये नशियात देखी जा सकती है. So today's program is particularly timely because local politics has once again come into shape, focus following the recent Lean Valley election, by-election. So elections are not simply about winning and losing, they are also a reflection of public confidence, community priorities, political trust, and the expectations people place on those who seek to represent them. The recent result in Lean Valley has naturally generated discussion within the local community. It is therefore an important moment to ask some wider questions. What do people now expect from their elected representatives? How should councillors engage with communities after a closely watched election? And how can political parties rebuild trust where people feel disappointed or disconnected? And once the campaigning is over, how do we ensure that political differences do not become a personal divisions within our neighborhood? So we will also discuss the everyday issues that continue to affect local residents, the cost of living, housing pressures, opportunity of young people, and community safety. So I'm very pleased to welcome today's guest, Councillor Sajid Hussain of the Labour Party. Sajid Saab, thank you very much for joining Radio Dawn. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much.
How are you, my brother?
I'm very well. We've got off to a flying start. Sajid is actually my dad's name. My name's Abbas Hussain.
Oh, sorry, Abbas Hussain. So, I'm really sorry. You know that I'm just going to mix another Sajid.
Sajid is my dad's name. Actually.
Yeah. So, Abbas, thank you very much for joining us on Radio Dawn. Bahut shukriya. And before we begin the wider discussion, I would like to acknowledge the recent Lean Valley election and congratulate Councillor Abbas on your election. So an election victory brings celebration, but it is also bring responsibility. From the day result is declared, an elected councillor is no longer representing only those who voted for them. They carry a responsibility toward every resident of the ward. So not only every resident, but I would say that you are the representative of youth. Actually, I interviewed Sajid, I interviewed a lot of niggers, the other councillors, all councillors. And I always ask them one question, which is very important, that why you are not giving the opportunity to youngsters. So thank God, at least, that we got
a youngster.
So a youngster, after a long struggle, is sitting in front of me. So Abbas, sorry about that if I'm going to, sorry about that. So let's start with the first question. How was your campaign? And it was some difficult patches also. So if you briefly tell us about your journey, about your background, about your education, and how actually you did join, because a lot of youngsters are listening, so you are actually a role model for us, to be very honest, role model for the youngsters. And as I mentioned earlier, that I asked even Gulnawaz, Nigat, everybody. Nigat is, of course, she is a youngster. I'm not saying, but I asked each and every Hassan Shah Saab. Even I asked, yeah, give the opportunity to the youngsters. So I interviewed each and every person. I don't think so that every counselor missing. I have interviewed them, and I always ask, okay, briefly tell about your journey, about your background, and briefly tell us. I think that a lot of our listener already knew about that.
So I was actually obviously born and bred in Nottingham, grew up in Nottingham, went to school in Nottingham, went to college in Nottingham. Then I decided to travel out of city, to further my life experiences. It taught me a lot of things. So I moved to London to study my law degree. At the same time, I also, after graduating as a law graduate, I studied my barrister professional course. And then I also did a master's in pro bono family litigation. So my background has always been about law and governance, and also public service as well. So that's a bit about my educational side. My interests, obviously, without a doubt, politics is up there. History is another area that I'm very fond of, whether that's Islamic history or just general history of different empires around the world, different time periods around the world as well. And I also serve as a school governor. So again, public service is something very close to my heart. I run an advice group based in Meadows called Meadows Advice Group. I chaired the board of trustees there. And that's a bit about what I have done thus far. In terms of my career, I've worked for 4 different local authorities. I was a principal lawyer for Mansfield District Council. I was a civil litigation lawyer for Buckinghamshire Council. I then worked for Nottingham City Council as well, actually, as a legal intervention officer for about over a year. And now I'm based at Birmingham City Council, and I work as a lawyer there. So as you can see, my background has always been public service. So when this call came to serve the people of Lean Valley and the residents of Nottingham, I welcomed the opportunity because it was an opportunity to serve and also give back to my community in Nottingham.
So it was your dad, or it's completely your decision?
So funnily enough, this was my decision. In my family, a lot of people are disengaged with politics, but obviously my dad originally is from Pakistan, and a lot of people within my family, they have more of an interest in Pakistani politics, PTI and stuff like that. But this was my own decision. Since I was very young, I was interested in politics, interested in getting involved, speaking out against injustices, upholding the rights of others and their civil liberties. So I made this decision to go into politics myself.
MashaAllah. So I think that I hope that you are going for another, inshallah, for member of parliament, and inshallah. So this is hopefully the start. So okay, so let's that Abbas, the recent result has only just come through, and what was going through your mind when you heard that you had been elected councillor for Lean Valley?
So throughout my campaign, I was optimistic that we will have the result that we deserve, and without a doubt, when I heard the result, I was over the moon, because we had put in a lot of hard work to secure this result. So when I heard the result, I was very, very happy, and I knew that this was only a portion of the hard work that I'd have to do. A lot of the councillors that I spoke to said a lot of the hard work will begin after you're elected. I didn't believe them. I still don't believe them because I take my oath on Monday.
Yeah.
So it really begins then. But I'm really looking forward to it. You know, a councillor has the responsibility of being a bridge between his residents and the local authority. And having worked for 4 different local authorities, I'm optimistic again and keen at the same time that I'd be able to do the role of a councillor justice and hopefully help my residents where they need help.
Okay, so you received 689 votes, isn't it?
That's
and
right.
With your nearest opponent, so she receiving 523 votes, so which is quite competitive, and I think that they worked very hard. So what message do you take personally from that result? And there were a lot of things actually going on during this campaign. So a lot of propaganda, I would say, from both parties. So what message do you take personally from that result?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it, and I didn't have to. You know, we fought very hard, and we fought a clean campaign. Our campaign was based on delivering for our residents. That was our key area of our campaign. We spoke to residents throughout the campaign to ensure that we were prepared. I was prepared with a caseload that I'd need to work on. So if I was to show you my notebook or my phone, it just continues. There's so much casework that I have to do once I take oath, and I'm really looking forward to that. In terms of obviously the ups and downs, you know, we had a lot of ups and downs throughout the campaign. We had to face a lot. Me as an individual as well, I had to face a lot. I'm sure, you know, you are more than aware about it, and I wouldn't want to dwell on the past too much. But, you know, a lot of, you know, our opponents, you know, they fought on issues that shouldn't be involved in local politics. Local politics should be on local issues. And I'm still a keen believer in that. And once again, the result shows that people of Lean Valley, the residents of Lean Valley, they place their trust in a party that unites communities and doesn't divide communities. And I think that sends a strong message out there to the other parties who fought their campaign on propaganda and you know, stuff like that. So yeah, the residents of Lean Valley, they decided to elect me as their councillor, and I shall not disappoint them.
Okay, you yourself acknowledge after the result that there had been ups and downs and issues during the campaign, and without getting into the personalities, what did this election teach you about the nature of local politics today? So a lot of people, you know, that they mentioned you, portrait you as a Zionist. Why did you invite a Israeli minister in a local mosque? So people have all right to ask these questions, I think. So what is your answer about particularly that issue? Because you know that I think that you can get a more majority as compared to this propaganda, or is it a reality? Why, you know, that you know about our community, and the last councillor actually, she resigned only due to this issue. So do you know about this reality in our community, or it was unintentional act? What was the reality? Because you know, lot of our community, even they don't know who came here. Some people saying that it was a Israeli minister. Some people think that it was a Zionist. Some people think that it is a MP from our British Parliament. Could you please elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, so we had, so I arranged a visit from Hamish, who was former Minister of the Middle East. He is a British MP from Lincoln. this was an opportunity to ask him questions about his former role as Minister of the Middle East. He had oversight of countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Palestine, and all of the countries around that region. What happened was unfortunate. People spread false information with malicious intent that we were being visited by a minister from Israel, which was completely false. Obviously, without a doubt, this cause, the Palestinian cause, is very dear to our hearts, because the country or state of Palestine, it holds a special place in the hearts of Muslims because of Masjid al-Aqsa, and it is the land of the prophets as well. I was there earlier this year in February. So a lot of people, obviously being passionate about the issue, then further spread that information. But the reality is, Hafiz Saab, is there was only a handful of people outside who I wouldn't even say were protesting. They were deliberately, igniting hatred, spreading division. And I think what happened the next day really, really showed. So many people across the country got in touch with me, saying that this was wrong, what happened. This was deliberately caused by the other side. And it just shows as well, even yesterday, I went to Jummah at Sufa. I had people come to Jummah in Bob's Mill, and I know Bob's Mill was completely packed from different people from the community who sent a strong message that we will not let division spread within our community. And I think that is a strong message. So that is essentially what happened. People who attended that protest, again, I wouldn't call it a protest, people who attended that caused a lot of civil unrest, damaged cars, broke their way into the masjid. They completely, ignored the fact that it is still a mosque, and masjid ke kuch adab hote hain and stuff like that. And people really didn't understand that. And, in relation to that, that's all I would, say,
क्या आप समझते हैं कि डू यू थिंक दैट यू पुट इन ट्रबल डॉक्टर मुशर्रफ साहब को भी आपने मुश्किल में डाल दिया? वो ऑलरेडी जो है वो इतनी जो है वो परेशानियों का शिकार है, और आपने डॉक्टर साहब ने कहा जी कि ये हिसाब है। और डॉक्टर साहब, मैं समझता हूँ कि ये वाहिद अदारा है जो हर एक के लिए ओपन है। मिनाजुल कुरान वाले यहाँ पे प्रोग्राम करते हैं, जमात इस्लामी वाले यहाँ पे प्रोग्राम करते हैं, तबलीगी जमात वाले यहाँ पे प्रोग्राम करते हैं। और आई थिंक दैट डॉक्टर मुशर्रफ हैव गिवन दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी to different people, and that's, I think that most of the people don't like that. And do you think that you added that thing, और डॉक्टर मुशर्रफ साहब को आपने जो है वो इतनी परेशानी में डाला?
So we actually organized this event. Dr. Musharraf, we invited. I personally invited Dr. Musharraf. There were other leaders of the community there as well. And again, it was an opportunity to ask the minister what the party has done thus far for Palestine, what it intends to do. And a lot of concerns were raised in that meeting. So I don't think per se we put Dr. Musharraf into a difficult position. I think a lot of people jumped on this, and they used their personal differences with Dr. Saab to further, attempt to damage him. And if anything, I believe this rallied the community behind him stronger, because people can see that there are certain individuals out there who are deliberately spreading division and hate in the community. And I'm sure one day, what goes around comes around. These things will catch up with them. And it's interesting, we followed the correct procedures. We got in contact with the relevant members of staff to ask whether we could host the event here. So this event had nothing to do with Dr. Musharraf. Dr. Musharraf was an attendee like every other person who attended. And there were many others that attended from the community, but I don't see these people questioning them. abusing them online, spreading further messages about them on social media. It's just about one individual, which is sad, which clearly shows that people that already have a personal issue with Dr. Saab, they are using this as an opportunity to further drag him down. But I still believe that the community sees through it, and that message was sent very strongly yesterday when the masjid hall was packed for Jummah, and people had to wait for to pray Jummah.
Okay, Abbas, we live in a diverse society, and one of my friend asked question. We are living in Muslims, where Muslims, Christian, Hindus, Sikhs, Jews, and people of no faiths study together, work together. For example, that those people, this is the question, that those people who came outside, their son, their daughter, they are working in a parliament and they have the opportunity to work with the same MP. So what they will do. And the second thing is that in such a society, people will naturally have a private conversation. Why the people are asking why those people came outside making the video, uploading that video, and end of the day, it is the bad reputation of Muslim community.
Yeah,
It is a bad reputation of our institution. It is a bad reputation of, and I don't think so that I have seen this kind of any kind of social media campaign from the other ethnic groups. Do you believe that?
So in terms of, your first question, it's no doubt that we live in a very diverse society, and, we are very lucky to have the same opportunities as every other individual in this country. And that's one of the unique things about this country. I'm proud to live in a country where everyone has the same opportunities. Everyone stands at the same level when they begin their education, and everyone has the same opportunity to exceed in their chosen careers. And a lot of Muslims that I know do work for a lot of different think tanks, NGOs, and party MPs as well. So, and a lot of people don't think about that. When they're inciting further hate or hatred, they don't look within their own homes. And that's something that people should consider. In terms of the reputation of Muslims, I could completely agree with you 100%. Other communities, other faith groups, they don't have things like this happening within them. They don't have people from within their community spreading hatred and causing further divisions. And I think those who do cause further divisions need to learn from other communities. I've always been a person that has said we need to move forward together, but people keep dragging us down. And what happened on Tuesday outside the Bob Islam Community Centre was evident of that we still have people from within the community who are spreading hatred, who are spreading division and holding us back, and will not allow us to move forward because they are unfortunately ignorant, or they have a personal agenda. So I think what happened that day did damage the credibility and the reputation of Muslims, because people will look and say that, look, Muslims are fighting amongst themselves, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Instead of, putting their concerns forward in a respectable manner, they're damaging cars, they're vandalizing buildings, they're abusing people and stuff like that. So it's really sad to see this happening within our own community. And without a doubt, this is a wake-up call for us as a community. How do we move forward? How do we stop things like this from happening?
Okay, now a little bit difficult question, particularly about the labor. You are the representative of labor, and our community, particularly the Muslim community, they are not happy with the labor policies. Labor now recognizes the state of Palestine. But many Palestinians would ask, and many Muslims would ask, recognition is symbolic. What has actually changed on the ground, and what practical difference should recognition make to the life of ordinary Palestinian? If Britain accept the Palestinians have an right to the statehood, should the UK now treat continued settlement expansion in the West Bank and direct challenge to that recognized state. And the government itself has condemned settlement expansion and settle violence. So, what do you think?
So it was, as you indicated, it was the Labour Party that recognized a Palestinian state. The previous government, it wasn't part of their foreign policy to recognize a Palestinian state. It was the Labour Party that took a stance and recognized a Palestinian state. The embassy was opened in January. Since then, we have suspended arms licenses to Israel. We have also imposed sanctions on certain Israeli ministers, such as Ben-Gvir. Hamish Falconer himself actually stood at the dispatch box and imposed sanctions on him, which a lot of Muslims, they turn a blind eye to, and especially those that attended the violent demonstration on Tuesday turned a blind eye to. If people did their research properly, they would be aware that the Labour government has done far more for Palestine than any other Muslim country. आप देखें कि पाकिस्तान ने फ़लस्तीन के लिए क्या किया, गाज़ा के लिए क्या किया, क्या उन्होंने बेन-गवीर जैसे वज़ीरों पे पाबंदी लगाई है, sanctions लगाई हैं, क्या उन्होंने किया है, क्या steps उन्होंने उठाए हैं. It's easy saying that this government is not doing this, लेकिन हमारे जो खुद अपने हुक्मरान हैं मुसलमान मुल्कों में, उन्होंने क्या किया है. We're quick to fire shots internally, but जिनका
लेकिन फर्ज बनता है, वहां पे कुछ लोगों ने आवाज उठाई थी तो 700 लाशें उठानी पड़ी. तो लोग ये कहते हैं कि यहाँ पे तो हमें फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच है, इसलिए हम जो है वो बाहर आके बात कर सकते हैं. इसलिए वो लोग जो है वो कह रहे हैं कि क्यों आप जो है वो तो सारा कुछ यही काम कर रहे हैं, आपको तो अल्लाह ताला ने ये ताकत दी, आप क्यों नहीं कर रहे.
देखें, यहाँ पे आप प्रोटेस्ट कर सकते हैं. हमको हमको पता है पाकिस्तान में प्रोटेस्ट करो तो क्या होता है, आदमी क्या करती है, ये वो वगैरह वगैरह. लेकिन यहाँ जो है ना, आप बिल्कुल धरना करें, लेकिन धरने करने के लिए कुछ अदायब होते हैं, कुछ प्रिंसिपल्स होते हैं, उसूल होते हैं कि आप आवाज उठाएं, लेकिन उठाएं इस तरह कि लोग कहें कि ओके ही हैज अ पॉइंट. जब ये होता है ना कि आप गाड़ियों को मारते हैं, मस्जिद के आदाब उसके खिलाफ आप काम करते हैं, then the question is कि आप जो हमारा फ़लस्तीन कोज़ है, जो हमारा कंसर्न है, you're doing more damage than actually helping them. यहाँ पे लॉबी ग्रुप्स होते हैं, यहाँ पे इंटरनल पार्टी प्रेशर होता है जो आप अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. जब ये before a Palestinian state was recognized by the Labour Party, over 60 MPs sent a letter to the then Prime Minister saying that please, endorse a Palestinian state. This is what happens when you move forward within a party. जब आप political party के member होते हैं ना, then you have influence over what is going on. It was the Labour Party that also decided not to go to war in Iran. A lot of people, turn a blind eye to that. So, ऐसे काम होता है. आप अगर, सियासी इख्तिलाफ हो सकते हैं, Labour Party से सियासी इख्तिलाफ हो सकते हैं, Conservative से सियासी इख्तिलाफ हो सकते हैं, लेकिन इख्तिलाफ करने का अंदाज भी होना चाहिए, दुरुस्त होना चाहिए. ये, you completely forget where you are, and you cause more damage than assist the cause.
अच्छा, बड़ी अच्छी आपने बात की कि कुछ आदाब होते हैं और जो मुहज़्ज़ब सोसाइटी हैं, पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, वो अपने एहतजाज को भी बड़े अच्छे तरीके से जो है वो कैटर करते हैं. और आज मैं एक वाकया जो है पढ़ रहा था, बुजुर्ग थे, तो उनको लोगों ने सारा दिन, जो गांव वाले थे, उन्होंने सारा दिन उनको गालियां निकाली और वो खामोश रहे, मुस्कुराते रहे. और जब शाम को वो निकलने लगे, उनको बुली वगैरह की, तो somebody asked that Baba ji, why you didn't answer anything? So he said, बेटा, जब आप किसी को तोहफा देते हैं तो क्या करते हैं? अगर वो तोहफा ना ले, प्रेजेंट आप, you are going to give somebody gift, तो क्या करते हैं आप? तो उन्होंने बताया कि हम अपने पास ही रख लेते हैं. तो उन्होंने कहा बस जो कुछ आपने दिया है मैंने वो नहीं लिया, आप अपने पास ही से रखें. Anyhow, this is the one part that we need to dealt the matters with more dignity, with more respect, and lot of those things we can sit inside, can talk, not openly telling the people that there is a huge difference between our own community. Anyhow, going back to many Muslims voters felt deeply disappointed with Labour during the earlier stages of the Gaza war. So, do you accept that the Labour damaged its relationship with the parts of British Muslim community? And has the party genuinely understood why? One question. This is the first question. Okay. The part of second question is most important. For example, I'm not happy with Labour policies, what they have done for the Muslims. And if you have the data, tell us that how much percentage the Muslim votes. Of course, you know that there are 6 or 7%. So the Labour vote, I don't have the data, but you need to tell that. For example, if we are not going to vote Labour, so which other options, the better option we have? Being a Muslim, this is not question as a Labour counselor. This is in a journal for the Muslim. If you are the ordinary Muslim, you have a lot of emotional things.
That's right.
With the Gazan people, the people who are, that genuinely the people are really bad feeling in their heart. बहुत ज़्यादा उनका दुखी दिल है. उन दुखी दिलों को मदावा अगर लेबर नहीं कर सकती तो कौन सी पार्टी फिर कर सकती है जिसमें हम शामिल हो जाएं और वो जब पावर में आए तो वो हमारे पॉइंट को ज्यादा बेहतर तरीके से जितने भी इजरायली मिनिस्टर है उनको निकाल दे, जो जायनिस्ट है उनको भी बिल्कुल निकाल दे, बल्कि मुल्क से ही निकाल दे. कोई इस तरह की मुमकिन है कोई पार्टी?
So, in terms of the party's stance on previous stance on Palestine and Gaza, our prime minister said himself that the party didn't get it right, and that sends a huge message that not only accepts responsibility for what happened previously, but it also gives us a picture of going forward where the party is going to go. And I think British Muslims need to acknowledge and understand that. And since that message has come out from our Prime Minister, you would have seen most recently the current Foreign Secretary, Ed Miliband, has also released a statement regarding the F1 tender program in Palestine. And not only has the current Foreign Secretary released that statement, his counterparts also from other European nations have released that statement. In fact, the UN, the United Nations have also released a statement condemning that. So it's not only British Muslims who are affected by this, it's Muslims around the world who are affected by this. And what I would say is, going forward, one of the 10 pledges that our Prime Minister made was to impose more sanctions and send a stronger message to Israel. And the Labour Party reaffirms its voice on this particular cause. And going forward, I'm optimistic, I am hopeful at the same time, and I'm certain that the party will take a stronger stance on this particular cause. And without a doubt, it's a cause that's dear to British Muslims, and why shouldn't it be? In our religion, in all of the Abrahamic religions, that land holds a huge importance. In terms of other and stuff like that, Labour has always been a safe haven for Muslims, and I would still say it is the party for Muslims currently as well, because look at the MPs who have been raising voices for the Palestinian cause. You have Imran Hussein of Bradford, and you have other MPs like Naz Shah as well. One of our local MPs, Nadia Whittam, she has been at the forefront raising voices for injustices that have been committed in not only in Palestine but around the world as well. What happened in Burma, Myanmar, what happened to the Uyghur Muslims in China. Wherever you look, we as a party have spoke against those atrocities. And as Muslims, we should speak about any injustice that Muslims face around the world, and any community faces around the world. It's not, simply, it's a Muslim being targeted, so we'll speak out against that. When Allah created the makhluk, He didn't create them in different categories. Insan jo hai wo insani hai, or insaniyat is so important. And Shah Abdul Haq Munsir Delvi's very beautiful narration of Shah Abdul Haq Munsir Delvi, once he was getting ready for Juma, और आपको पता है हिंदुस्तान में जब बारिश होती है, मानसून का मौसम जब आता है, then it is very कीचड़ होता है, and it can be very damaging. So Shah Abdul Haq Munsir Delvi is walking through the streets, and it's raining a lot, and he hears a small squeal behind him, and he looks back. तो Shah Abdul Haq Munsir Delvi पीछे देखते हैं और देखते हैं कि एक कुत्ता कीचड़ में फंसा हुआ है, और वो खुद से सोचते हैं कि अगर मैंने इस कुत्ते को निकाला, उठाया, कहाँ सेफ शेल्टर में रख दिया, तो ना मैं पलीद हो जाऊंगा, जुमा मैं नहीं पढ़ सकूंगा, I won't be able to read Juma, and also कपड़े कीचड़ से भर जाएंगे. So he carries on walking, and he decides to leave the dog. The dog screams again, the same thing happens. Then the third time, the dog screams very, very loud. It squeals, and Shah Abdul Haq Munsir Delvi says, that squeal pierced my heart. Shah Abdul Haq Munsir Delvi, he picks up the dog, he puts it against his chest, and he finds a box to put it in. और फिर जब ये होता है, शाह अब्दुल हक उस कुत्ते को डब्बे में डालते हैं, और वो कुत्ता गायब हो जाता है, और फिर हातिफ से आवाज आती है कि शाह अब्दुल हक मुंसर देलवी, अगर आप ये इम्तिहान फेल हो जाते, if you lost this test, if you failed this test, आपकी जो विलायत थी हमने उसको सल्ब कर. Yes, so it teaches us कि इंसानियत मखलूक से होती है. खिदमतुल खल्क is so important. आप ये नहीं देखते कि ये बंदा मुसलमान है और ये बंदा पाकिस्तानी है. You look at everything with one lens, and that is so important. So I would say it's the Labour Party that has been the party for Muslims, and going forward it is the party that Muslims will be affiliated to and continue being affiliated to. And the result है नीम वाली का, that is a testament to that. And not only did the Muslims place their trust in the party, the wider community placed their trust in the party. And that is a message that I'm taking forward, is I'm not a councillor for one particular community. I'm a councillor for everyone that lives in Lean Valley and Nottingham. So basi Labour Party here, it is the party that going forward will acknowledge the concerns and issues of the Muslims. And if you look, जहाँ आज़ाद उम्मीदवार खड़े हुए हैं ब्रैडफोर्ड में, जहाँ एक इलाके में 3-4 आज़ाद उम्मीदवार खड़े हुए हैं, what has happened? The vote has broken up, Labour has lost its seat, और reform जैसी पार्टी आ चुकी है. और आप देखें कि इस इलेक्शन में भी लीन वाली रिफॉर्म 3 नंबर पे आई थी.
बड़े अच्छे हैंडसम वोट लिए उन्होंने, 400 something.
Yes.
Yeah, so they are nearly there. So if we थोड़ी सी जो है ना फाइट ज्यादा अच्छी होती, तो शायद वो जो है वो थोड़ा सा प्रोपेगेंडा आप दोनों पार्टियों ने कम किया है, थोड़ा सा मजीद करते, ताकि रिफॉर्म के काउंसलर भी हमें यहाँ पे मिलने दस्तयाब होते. लेकिन आपने थोड़ी सी फाइट कम की है, तो नेक्स्ट टाइम जितने भी हमारे सुनने वाले हैं, थोड़ा सा लाइटर नोट पे मैं कह रहा हूँ, माजरत. So let's move to the next question. So should Muslim voters be satisfied because Labour has now recognized Palestine, and Labour also says that humanitarian aid or the current government must reach the Gaza without arbitrary restrictions, and if aid continues to be obstructed, what consequences should there be for those responsible?
In terms of humanitarian aid, जो वजीर यहाँ आया था ना Hamish, he himself went to the border and spoke to the Israeli forces there, because आपको पता होगा, the British government was one of those governments that had sent a huge amount of humanitarian aid to Palestine to ensure that it gets to the people of Palestine where they need it most. Lekin kya hua? Israel stopped the humanitarian aid there and stopped it from entering Israel. तो हेमिश खुद वहाँ जाके आप देखें कि कौन सा वजीर है हमारे मुसलबात वहीं आती है कि कौन सा वजीर would risk his life going to Palestine and speak to the forces there. उसने खुद कहा था जब यहाँ आया था Tuesday को उसने खुद कहा था कि I went there, I saw firsthand what kind of issues, what kind of conduct the Israeli forces were conducting themselves with. Or jab wapas aaya, that is what influenced the Labour Party's stance. We took further restrictions, we imposed further restrictions on violent settlers, we suspended arms licenses, we imposed further sanctions on government ministers like Ben Gvir. So Labour Party ki yehi stance raha hai कि humanitarian aid needs to enter Palestine. The aid that has been sent needs to enter Palestine. And going forward, if Israel doesn't allow further humanitarian aid to enter, then the Labour government will take an even further and stronger stance, as the Prime Minister has indicated, and will impose further sanctions, because it is scenarios like this where the Israeli forces and the Israeli government will wake up. And indeed, around the corner, they have elections happening in October as well. So there's a lot of internal pressure in Israel where the public are actually calling out the Israeli forces and the Israeli government for the actions and atrocities that he has committed in the West Bank and in Palestine.
अच्छा एक रेलिवेंट क्वेश्चन है, अगर हम यानी बहुत सारे हमारे एमपीस ने भी काउंसलर ने भी एहतजाजन जो है वो छोड़ दिया. अभी ये क्वेश्चन एक और है हमारे एक लिसनर की तरफ से कि अगर हम ये सारा कुछ जो है वो छोड़ देते हैं, यानी ये जो बंदा आपने बुलाया था ये जो है वो ज़ायनिस्ट है, ये इजरायली मिनिस्टर है, हम किस बंदे के साथ बात करेंगे? यानी मुझे वो जो क्वेश्चन है और हमारा भी ये क्वेश्चन है कि how can we communicate with the government about our issues if we think that this is, I can't talk with you, Abbas, because you are the representative of Labour. I can't talk with you because you are the representative of conservative or reforms. Even that I still remember एक वो वीडियो था और एक डॉक्टर है और वो कम्युनिकेट कर रहा है नाइजल फराज से और कहता है कि एक्चुअली ही बीन वर्किंग विद द रेफ्यूजीज, और उसने कहा कि मैंने खुद रेफ्यूजीज को देखा है जिस मुश्किल हालत में है. तो यू आर वेरी इंटेलिजेंट पर्सन. उसने मुसलमान डॉक्टर था बारिश, उसने कहा तो आप बड़े इंटेलिजेंट हो, इफ यू आर गोइंग टू बिकम प्राइम मिनिस्टर तो तुम जो है ना रेफ्यूजीज का ख्याल रखना. अब मुझे उतनी अच्छी उसके लफ्ज लगे कि वो बंदा इतना रिस्पेक्टफुल है. हम इस सोसाइटी में रहते हैं, हमने यहाँ से या तो निकल जाए ना, और फिर हमारी आबादी कितनी है यार, 5% हम लोग है नहीं है, तो 5% हम इस तरह जो है वो बिहेव कर रहे होते हैं कि जैसे इस मुल्क के चलाने वाले हम हैं, इस मुल्क को संभालने वाले हम हैं. नो डाउट हमारी कंट्रीब्यूशन कोई कम नहीं है इस मुल्क में, हमारे बाप दादा ने यहाँ पे कुर्बानियां दी है, नो डाउट. लेकिन आप ये तो देखें कि आप कितना पोर्शन है, और अगर आप हर एक के साथ लड़ाई करके कहेंगे इसके साथ भी मैंने नहीं चलना, इसके साथ भी नहीं चलना, तो बाबा कैसे आप जो है इस माशरे में रहोगे, कैसे अपने जो प्रॉब्लम है नेक्स्ट सारी चीजें हमने, तो आप अंदाजा लगाएं अमेरिका का भी देखें कि कितनी बुरी हालत है, और ईरान के साथ उनका कितना कन्फ्लिक्ट है, लेकिन ईरानियन भी अभी भी निगोशिएशन कर रहे हैं अपनी सारी लोगों की क़यादत को मरवा के भी, क्योंकि एंड ऑफ द डे निगोशिएशंस जो है वो कभी भी आप बंद नहीं कर सकते. और ना डॉक्टर मुशर्रफ के पास इतनी पावर है, और ना अब्बास के पास, और ना मेरे पास इतनी पावर है कि हम उनको अकोमोडेट कर सकते हैं. उन्हें हमारी अकोमोडेशन की जरूरत नहीं है. क्या कहेंगे?
So in terms of अगर आप तल्लुकात, conversations, panel discussions, अगर आप ये सब छोड़ देते हैं तो आपकी आवाज जो है ना it becomes silent. एहतजाजन आप प्रोटेस्ट धरने वगैरह कर सकते हैं, लेकिन what effect does that actually have on policy? you've got to be within a party to have direct influence over policy. That is how, you know, a democratic system works. अब देखें जहां हमारे independent MPs हैं, जहां हमारे independent councillors हैं, उनके पास ना ताकत है, ना influence है, सिर्फ एक आवाज है. Or people will not take that seriously. Why? क्योंकि आपके पीछे कोई मशीनरी नहीं है. आप देखें हमारी जो लेबर पार्टी है, कितने मुसलमान MPs हैं, कितने और MPs हैं जिन्होंने खुद प्राइम मिनिस्टर को, पिछले प्राइम मिनिस्टर को लेटर लिखा था कि आपने जो LBC रेडियो स्टेशन पे आपने जो कमेंट्स की थी, हम इसके खिलाफ हैं. इस तरह काम होता है. This is how you influence policy. If you close the door, you can only stand on the outside. तो जहां जो ट्यूसडे को हो रहा था ना, वो एग्जाम्पल था कि जो बंदे बाहर थे, they were completely, सिर्फ शोर शराबा ही था ना. और जो हम यहाँ वजीर के पास बैठे हुए थे, हम उससे पूछ रहे थे कि आपने क्या किया है फलस्तीनी लोगों के लिए, गाजा लोगों के लिए आपने क्या किया है. We don't think you went far enough. हमको ऐसे लगता है कि जब हम आवाज उठाते हैं तो कोई हमारी सुनता नहीं है. ऐसे जब सवालात आप पूछते हैं ना किसी आम बंदे से नहीं, कैबिनेट वजीर को, तब they take us seriously. और आप देखें हमारा influence as, you know, a Labour councillor, a Labour member, हम कितनी फार आए हैं. I'm the first third generation councillor. जैसे आपने बात की थी कि, you know, you're happy to see someone young, so I'm the first one. I have no reservations or doubt कि मेरे बाद भी इंशाल्लाह काफी और आएंगे. ये सुन के तो influence ऐसे create होती है over policy, over internal stance and stuff like that. वरना आप देखें कि जब पार्टी लीडर आता है, वो अपना खुद एक नजरिया, एक रवैया लाता है, तो ऐसे काम होता है. You can't, you know, shout from the outside. You've got to do a lot from the inside.
और यही तरीका है. देखिए नहीं, हमने नादिया विटमोर को यहाँ पे प्लेटफॉर्म दिया, इंटरव्यूड हर, एंड अभी मेरी जो है हमने ईमेल्स भी की, उनको बताया भी, और मैं समझ रहा हूँ कि नादिया इज डूइंग वेरी वेल अबाउट आवर काज. सो ये जो है ये रास्ता होता है सामीन मोहतरम कि हम कैसा उनके साथ जो है वो तल्लक रखते हैं. Okay, so Abbas, the UK has taken action on arms export license. So if there is a credible evidence that British supplied military equipment could contribute to violation of international humanitarian law, so should all relevant license be suspended rather than only some? So Labour has cited restriction on arms license as part of its response. What do you think?
Look, the Labour Party has suspended arms licenses, and you know everyone is aware of that. और जो नहीं जानते वो जान लें कि जब काम होता है वो slowly होता है. ये ऐसे नहीं होता कि आप पोजीशन में आ जाते हैं और फौरन कहते हैं कि नहीं ये नहीं होना चाहिए, वो नहीं होना चाहिए. और हमारी खुद जो पाकिस्तान की सियासत है, जब इमरान खान वजीर आया था, he वजीर आज़म बना था, at the latter point of his government, he wanted to do some things just like that. ऐसे कि इस बंदे को ये पोजीशन नहीं देनी चाहिए, ये वो वगैरह वगैरह. और जब आप डायरेक्ट ऐसे काम करते हैं तो आपकी जो खुद स्टैंडिंग होती है ना वो खतरे में हो जाती है. So we need to learn from within our own government in Pakistan कि जब बंदा हुकूमत में आता है, वजीर बनता है, काम slowly होता है. ऐसे नहीं होता कि you know you impose a decision straight away. जैसे आपने बात की थी कि even the Iranians are still, you know, having dialogue with their counterparts in the USA, क्योंकि सियासत जो होती है ना उसके कुछ उसूल होते हैं कि जब आप कोई आपका जो कोई इख्तिलाफ होता है, then you discuss that in a nice way, and that is what we learn from stuff like the Geneva Convention. You know, that governs stuff like this. What happens in a war scenario? What happens, you know, when there's a difference between two countries? So that's what I would say in relation to that. I'm sure for the party going forward will review a lot of its stance on Palestine and Gaza, and indeed relationships with other countries as well. हम मुसलमान हैं और ये नहीं है कि सिर्फ जब पैलेस्टीन में अट्रॉसिटीज कमिट हो रही हैं हम उसके खिलाफ बोलें. आपको पता है कि सूडान में भी जो हो रहा है, that is worrying as well. The same voices that speak against injustices for the Palestinian cause need to speak against the injustices around the world as well. और आप देखें कि सिर्फ मुसलमानों के लिए नहीं ये जो हो रहा है in Palestine. Everyone has spoken, from different communities against the atrocities that are happening in Palestine. Nadia Wissam has, a lot of other MPs have as well, members of the House of Lords have. And these are members, these are politicians from within the Labour Party. If you leave the party, kya aapki awaaz reh jayegi? Auqaat kya reh jayegi? Standing kahan reh jayegi? Talluqat, influence, all of these things matter if you want a seat at the table.
Thank you very much. So we are going to take a short break now. So when we come back, so we will move away from the national politics and we will talk about a little bit Lean Valley, about the local issues that directly affected the people's everyday lives. So stay tuned with us and we will back shortly. बस 10-15 मिनट और जो है ना लोकल जो है ना इश्यूज के ऊपर बात करते हैं और फिर मैं 1 मिनट यार ₹200 लेना ₹200 लेना तो कुछ खर्च को नहीं करने नहीं लेकिन ₹200 लेना बड़े बेहतर कि मैं ना आज रात को काफी करा रहा इंशाल्लाह आज रात को ना ईशा के बाद इंशाल्लाह काट करा थैंक यू ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਕਰ ਨਾ ਕਰੋ इंशाल्लाह पहले नाल बेहतर होगा काट पुत्रा जरूर आज रात को इंशाल्लाह मैं काट करूंगा काट करने में बड़ा फर्क पड़ता है इंशाल्लाह रैम दियो मैं दुआ के अफूज क्यों बात जी नहीं चिंगा पुत्रा दुआएं याद रखिए अल्लाह ताला आसानियां दे बहुत शुक्रिया आज अस्सलाम वालेकुम
दीवानों के दामन से हुआ बस्ता यकीन है कब्र में मेरी अंधेरा हो नहीं सकता कब्र में सरकार आए तो मैं कदमों में गिरूं
हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम हाँ जी